My Hero Ultra Rumble is an incredibly unique take on the Battle Royale genre. It's a hero-based multiplayer game where each character has their own unique set of skills. It might remind you of something like Apex Legends, another Battle Royale with a hero-based approach. But this goes even further beyond, because this is a Battle Royale without guns. So even the primary and secondary fires of each character are different. Going beyond their core abilities, every single aspect of a hero or villain is unique. The result is a video game experience like none other I've played before in my life. But it's not without its downsides. My name is Globku, and this is my review of My Hero Ultra Rumble. The game is developed by Viking and published by Bandai Namco, the same duo that brought you One's Justice, the series of My Hero Academia arena fighters. In fact, you can tell a lot of the models and even abilities were directly translated over from those games. The review I have for you today comes fully from the PlayStation version of the game, and throughout this video, you'll get to know what game modes we have, what's the progression like, how does it monetize, and how free-to-play friendly is it actually. But all of that is secondary to how the game itself plays, so that's where we begin. At its core, this is a Battle Royale, so if you've played one of those, a lot of the features will feel familiar. But this does do a few things differently as well. You start at the menu by selecting your character, each one of them with a set of 3 quirks and a special ability. But also every character has unique melee combos, and sometimes jumping heights are even different. And this is where the first big difference to other Battle Royales comes in. You see, usually you drop in and you start looting for weapons. So no matter which character you pick, you might find a shotgun or an assault rifle that you like. Here, your character is your entire kit, no matter what drops you find on the stage. The abilities you start with are all you have. You might even level them up, but it's not like the character will change how they play depending on what you loot. In fact, your primary fire might not even be a ranged ability in some cases. The game starts with you choosing a drop location, and if no one's around you, your first goal is very simple. Loot as much as you can to level up your quirks, along with getting some health and guard point bottles to regenerate them after battle. Over time, the circle gets smaller, so you keep looting and fighting in order to be the last team standing. A lot of the environment is actually destructible, something to keep in mind if you're taking cover behind something or standing on not so steady flooring. You might even find some civilians coming out of collapsing buildings. If you rescue them as a hero or threaten them as a villain, they'll often drop health bottles or revive cards, which are needed for when your teammates are knocked out. That said, before anyone gets knocked out, there's always a downed state. And this is another thing that Ultra Rumble does differently from other Battle Royales. Usually you would need a teammate to rescue you before that timer runs out. Otherwise, you'd be out of the fight. But in Ultra Rumble, if that timer runs out, you just pick yourself back up. It's on the enemies to find your downed body and finish you off. A fight is not over until they do so. And if you manage to get a finishing move on a downed opponent, it will even refill your shields entirely. That's the gist of the game, and I gotta say, it works really well. Having played over 100 hours of this game, combining the final release and the previous betas, I still haven't had enough of this game at all. This launch version is by far the best one. They have polished a lot of stuff, the netcode is really solid, and since each character is very unique, games can feel vastly different. Character balance is obviously a concern, and it's not perfect at the moment. Characters with high mobility can feel impossible to finish off, since you simply cannot chase them. Or you might just get nuked by high damage characters before you can even turn around and figure out where they're shooting from. But this is a game where I've already felt a lot of balance changes coming from the betas till launch. And the balance changes have been really positive overall. We know balance patches will keep coming out in the future, so this is a matter of providing good feedback to the developers and being good enough to find the meta with each patch before everyone else does. That's how you stay ahead of the curve. I will, however, say that there's one thing these developers never figured out, and that's aiming. Aiming in this game does not feel great. And that's a big deal for what's basically a third-person shooter, depending on your character choice. To make up for that, they give you the option to turn on aim assist. In fact, it's on by default, but this is way too aggressive of an aim assist. So aggressive, in fact, that you kinda need to have it on console. There are a lot of situations with low visibility or characters running around in bushes, and this aim assist allows you to target them even though you cannot see them. It feels like it's an unfair aimbot, but if everyone has it, it feels like you're handicapping yourself by turning it off, especially since the shooting itself does not feel great without that setting. Sound design is a bit lacking in my opinion too, more specifically the spatial sound design. In other Battle Royales, you can often tell where opponents are from the sound alone. You can tell from which direction shots or footsteps are coming from. And in this game, I found myself looking at the wrong place multiple times times, thinking an enemy is coming from the left when in reality it was just my teammate sprinting from the right. And no, my headphones were not swapped around. So there's definitely room for improvement, and I think these are the two biggest issues that could be worked on from a systems perspective. But in general, I have to say this game is fantastic. I've been having a lot of fun. I feel like it's not a copy of any other Battle Royale. It definitely has its own twist, its own identity, it's doing its own thing, and hopefully it's here to stay. But that's not just up to the game itself. A lot of the fun comes from playing different game modes and keeping things fresh. So let's take a look at what your options are in My Hero Ultra Rumble. From the main menu, you can select your character and jump straight into one of the game modes by yourself or with a party of friends. There's a Battle Royale mode which is played in teams of 3 players, where a maximum of 24 people will drop into a stage, meaning a maximum of 8 teams will fight for survival. And that's kind of it in terms of game modes, actually. There's a training mode that you can join as a party as well and set a few bot behaviors. And you can even turn friendly fire on if you want to duel against your buddies. And I gotta say, I like training mode. It is perfect for trying out a character before playing them, but I wish they went further with it. First of all, there's no way to reset training mode. I wish there was a reset button that would refill the bot's health and shields and perhaps choose a different dropping location. Or even better yet, I wish they had given us the possibility of creating a full private lobby and host an entire game with your friends. Instead, what you have is playing the same Battle Royale game mode against CPUs, play them in ranked matches or in unranked matches, but the game mode is always the same one in the end, on the one map the game currently has. Now, that's not necessarily bad at the moment, but it does make me worried about the game's longevity. How long can someone play the same game mode before they grow tired of it? Even if you like Battle Royales, this one is smaller than most of them out there, which means you will see this map a lot more times, a lot faster than in other Battle Royale games, which means we might need new maps very soon. And I would also appreciate different types of queues, like queuing solo or as duos, but perhaps those options were left out in order to not split the player base, something they probably had to worry about because the game has no crossplay. There are a few things in the menus that hint at crossplay being in their plans, but so far there have been no announcements, which means the lifetime of this game on some platforms might have its days numbered. Luckily, looking at the roadmap, and if some early data mining is to be believed, there might be some variety coming in terms of maps and game modes, so that is very exciting to see. Hopefully that's enough to keep us entertained, and hopefully the new rules they announce are also fun to play around with. But you might ask the question, what is the point of this game? Is there any goal to work towards, any form of progression, or are we just playing this one game at a time without a bigger goal to aim for? And to that I answer, there are quite a few things to progress on, and definitely I was not expecting as many of them. So there are a few progression systems that are pretty straightforward and others that are tied to the gacha system, because this is after all a free-to-play gacha. But there are also some permanent progression bars that might be all you need as a completionist. So let's start with the obvious ones. Ranked. There's a ranked leaderboard that resets every season, and this leaderboard gives you not only rewards based on your rank, it even gives you bonus rewards if you take one of the top places on it. There are also ranks for your agency, which is kind of a guild, a group that you can invite friends to. Everyone contributes to the agency, and the agency itself gives you some XP boosts and other currency bonuses. So you and your friends can all work together to make your agency one of the best in the world, and everyone will also receive rewards based on the agency's rank. But the main form of progression will be, in my opinion, the licenses. Basically, licenses are this game's version of a battle pass. You play during the season to level it up and get some rewards, and if you buy the pro version, you get even more rewards with each level. And we'll definitely talk about how friendly this whole thing is later in the video. For now, I want to focus on what happens when you press that button. This is the special license, and this one is actually permanent progression. It's not a battle pass at all. In fact, it might as well be an account level of sorts because it does not expire. And as you can see, there are a lot of things of value here, including unlocking characters. In about 25 hours of gameplay, I was able to unlock almost half of it, so let's say in 60 hours you could say that you beat the game by unlocking All Might. But that's not all there is to progression. You also have these missions. Now, some of them are reset daily, weekly, or seasonally, not unlike other free-to-play games out there. There will also be 3 events for every season, and each season seems to last about 2 months, and these have their own missions that give you its own currency for you to spend at the event shop. More on that later. But then you also have the special missions, and once again, you see no timer on these at all. That's because these are also your permanent progression. These encourage you to play the entire roster and not just play them, actually use them for a while and accomplish some objectives with each character. They reward you with these little badges that you can use as achievements to show off on your player banner. If you're the completionist type, you're definitely gonna have a blast completing all of the items on this list. And finally, there's a gallery. As you play, you get a lot of these 3 types of currency, and all they're used for is unlocking different panels at the gallery. Once you get a full picture, it can be used as a new loading screen image for you. It will take a long time to unlock them all for sure, but you can think of them as an optional collectible in a way. So there's plenty to keep you playing for a really long time, but as a free-to-play title, players may have concerns. Because I also had concerns. Can I actually enjoy this game as a free-to-play player, or will I have to pay some money at some point if I want to enjoy it fully? And I gotta say, Ultra Rumble is one of the most free-to-play friendly games I have ever touched. I will actually start with one negative thing to say about monetization, which is a lot of this is confusing and convoluted for no reason other than confusing players so they end up spending money when they did not need to. Because the truth is, if you know what you're doing, you can get most of the paid content in this game for absolutely free. For instance, the Pro license costs 4,800 crystals. That's about $10 in real money. In a single day, doing event missions, you could go into the event shop and get 7,000 crystals for free. As I've said before, there will be 3 events per season, and if all of them have this amount of crystals, that's pretty good. If you spend those crystals on the Pro license and you manage to max it out, that will give you another 4,800 crystals along with some tickets and other rewards as well, which is enough for the next Pro license coming out in 2 months already. Or you could choose to spend those crystals on some gacha tickets if you'd prefer. And that's not to mention seasonal rewards, which also give you some crystals along the way. And so far, I would say this is pretty free to play friendly, because the game actually gives you a few ways to get that premium currency. Now, this is all limited, cannot be farmed. All of these are one-time only purchases, so I do recommend saving your crystals just in case the next event does not give you as much. Let's move on to character unlocks. Depending on the character, you can unlock them in one of 3 ways. There's the special license, which you get as you play the game. You can use crystals, the paid currency, to accelerate the level up process. I really don't recommend doing this though, because this license never expires. So you'll eventually get all of these characters for free. Then you have the characters that you can unlock with character tickets. So far, tickets are only available to buy from the Hero Souls shop. Hero Souls are the currency you get from duplicates using the gacha system. So whenever you get unlucky, your consolation prize is actually buying a character ticket, so that's pretty good. Finally, whenever there's a new character, they will only be attainable through this game's gacha system. You get a fair amount of tickets from daily missions, weekly missions, and licenses, but you're not guaranteed a character until you do 200 pulls, at which point you can just pick a character to get. The good news is after the characters leave the gacha banner, you will be able to unlock them with character tickets as new characters get released. And this is definitely the least free-to-play friendly system because getting gacha tickets is a very slow drip. I recommend buying the premium daily login as soon as possible. That's an extra 10 tickets every day, and it's pretty cheap if you've got the spare crystals. Make sure you're doing your dailies and weekly missions too, but yeah, the random chance of getting characters is never a good feeling. The only reason why I feel okay with this is 1, there's an okay PD system here, which after 200 pulls, it lets you choose which character you want, and 2, rental tickets. You can play any character that you currently do not own by spending a rental ticket. You can have a maximum of 3 tickets, and these are restored automatically. You get 1 back every 8 hours, so even if you don't get the character, you can still play them about 3 or 4 times a day as if you owned it. And the worst case is you get unlucky, you don't get any characters, but you've probably unlocked a bunch of character skins and voice lines along the way, and you still have a solid roster of free characters to unlock. With all that said, it's time to score this game, and if you're new here, we use letters as our review scores, from F, which is really bad, all the way to A, which is really good, and this is my score for My Hero Ultra Rumble.
Finished! Thank you! Yes!
I should maybe add that this is an A rank for now. It definitely needs some new game modes or maps in the future, and hopefully they deliver. I hope they keep listening to the community and balance the game according to feedback, because the game is great as it is right now, but it will definitely need support to stay afloat in the long term. Crossplay is very high on my wish list, private lobbies too, but as it is, My Hero Ultra Rumble has had a fantastic launch, and I hope they can capitalize by expanding it from here. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. That way people get my opinion from the video, but they get to read yours as well. And for more My Hero Ultra Rumble, I've been doing daily videos, and the most recent one is Dabi right here. Check it out if you haven't yet, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.